Hello, hello, and welcome to the Rise of the Womb Oracle Summit. I am your host, Athena Sai, womb wisdom keeper and an oracle for the divine mother energies. And so today I am super excited to have Caryn with us. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce her fiery spirit. If you don't already know Caryn Terres, she is the Dragon Doula. She's a multi-passionate entrepreneur, political activist, and internationally known author and speaker. She's a bridge builder, an impossible dreamer, multidimensional mother, and empress of traversing transitions and conquering chaos, which I just love. She is also best for being a courage and confidence coach. And the truth is that she will help you push the button. When you are right on that precipice, when you are afraid of doing something, she is going to help you move to it when you really have that deep knowing. So Caryn will be there by your side, reminding you that no one and nothing has power over your life except for you. The power to change your life already exists inside you. The choice of your happily ever after is yours alone. Her uncanny ability to bridge the logical with the creative, the metaphysical with the geopolitical, and neuroscience to spellcasting, she is the perfect fusion of the ancient wisdom and the future vision. She's also best known for her work with the dragons, not only as powerful spirit guides, but our individual ability to harness the ineffable mythos of dragons to truly be a dragon. So Caryn, I am so excited that you're here and welcome.
Yay! Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. Oh, what an intro. Like, think about where I was 5 years ago and people were asking me to do podcasts, and I'm like, hold please. I'm just starting, and now like, oh yeah, I did all those things. I have done all those things. Let's go play. All about the dragons, because that's what it's about. It's not, oh, it just makes me so excited to just like, okay, yeah, let's go play. Let's talk about it.
I love it too, because the dragons have really been, helping me, and I see them both externally and internally. Like, I've had those moments where like I was literally gifted my dragon heart back after I'd done so much inner child work, and also I can see them in the inner earth as they're rising. And so I just love the energy that you bring. I love the fire and the passion that you have for your work. And I've been following you. I think we did, I don't know, was it Sovereign together? I think we were in the multi-dimension or the multi-author book.
Yeah, maybe. Which one was it? Sovereign
or Jaguar Medicine?
No, I can't even remember. I did Magdalene. Did we just meet through her? Is that what it is?
That's what we did. We met through her. Yep. We met through her work.
Okay, that's what, because I'm like, I did Magdalene and I did a few with Janet. I did like Birth and Ascension with Janet Brent, and then with Shannon Vandenberg, I did Magdalene Codes. So I think we just met through the vines, which is what I fucking love about this work. I say it all the time. I've got some of my best friends I've never met in person, and yet like I can, at this point, we're connected enough that I have their phone number, so I can like text them and be like, dude, I am having fucking day. And they like, that's the level of connection it is. And it doesn't matter, even though like one day we're gonna fucking hug in person, I promise. But like, you can just do that. And it's like, how did we meet? I don't know. We swim in the same pools of healing. We know the same people. We hire the same coaches. The same people hire us. Like, we're just around. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So yeah,
I'm alive in this time with that technology.
That is amazing about technology for sure. So, the rise of the womb oracle is really about us sharing our stories. And like I said earlier, before we press record, is sharing our stories to really empower one another, because I feel like there is a whole next level of initiations that are coming forward, as well as like, how can we really steward in this, if you want to call it the new age, the golden era, whatever you want to call it, this new super consciousness. How are we, really going to be of service to the planet and to humanity, those people who are maybe just beginning? And so this is really about us empowering one another to share our stories and to create better solutions for everything that's happening on the earth. So my first question, we're going to kind of take it back a little bit and then we'll build from here. So my first question for you is, when did you first hear the call of the dragon?
Okay, so this is always a really interesting question because I am a dragon in Chinese astrology, an earth dragon. And my mother is also actually an earth dragon because she's 36 years older than me. So people know about the 12 iterations of Chinese astrology, but they don't realize that for every 12-year gap, it's a different element. So you're either fire, water, earth, wood, or metal. So it takes a whole like go from here all the way around. So the sixth iteration, you're another one. So I am an earth dragon daughter of an earth dragon mother. So when you ask me where it began, I'm gonna say in the quantum when I made that agreement with my mom. Because dragons have just been in my life my whole life. Like there's a picture of a mom dragon, like a drawing my mom found at a Renaissance fair when she was pregnant with me. And it's a mom dragon next to a baby dragon and they're flying, but the baby dragon has like balloons tied to it or something. And it hung above my crib. My parents told me stories of King Arthur. My ex-husband has a giant dragon tattoo, like tribal on his back, like my kid's father, who is also my oldest friend, right? We've known each other for 23 years. We got married when we were 20. We were together for 15 years and we just completed a divorce that was pretty gnarly to go through. But now we're like, hey, but we're still each other's oldest friend. And we were friends before and we had this journey and we did learn these lessons and we birthed these babies. And now what? And we can do that in a supportive, loving way, which is so different than what we hear. And it's because I followed the dragon's way and not listening to all the of society, right? So when I say like dragons in my blood, it is. And then like throughout my life, they would either be more or less. And then I'd say the like hardcore, like, okay, dragon medicine is what you're here to teach was like 2019 when I went skydiving. I was already doing light language, but I didn't call it light language because I was doing it in a very low, like a much lower tone. So a lot of people, when they start going into light language, their voice will go kind of more heady, or they're still speaking in their regular, but mine would get very low and very tribal and like down here, right? And so I called it dragon tongue because I didn't know what else. It was very like parcel tonguey, but I didn't want to be like, oh, stealing JK. I was like, so it's dragon tongue. Honey, my daughter, I told her no, but she still came out. What do you need to tell me? I have to do my call and it's recorded. So you ask me after I say thank you. They just know. They like feel the energy shifting and they're like, oh, let's go check and make sure that everything. And it's the most random thing. She wants me to go to buy her something. I'm like, what? Why right now? You gotta go talk to me.
I can relate. I have two littles, and it is hard sometimes for sure to get
Yeah.
anything done when they're here.
Yeah. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go record. You have to leave me alone. And they're like, okay. And then no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so the like that dragon tongue, the parcel tongue was coming through, and then I went skydiving and I got that like dragon's eye view. And it was right around there that I had gotten a deck by Diana Cooper, the Dragon Oracle deck, and started using that deck. I'd actually bought it for my husband like a year before and just like only pulled for him. And then it was like actually mine and started using it and like built my whole business model around that deck, actually like doing specific readings using that deck because all the other dragon decks I found just weren't like doing it for me. And I really only had to use it for like a couple of months before I completely moved into like, okay, well, this is, yes, I can connect to them externally and yes, I can appreciate them as the external beings, but how do I utilize it? Because that's always been my thing. Like I diagnosed with fibromyalgia when I was 21. I was laying in bed. I was almost 200 pounds. Like so many things about my physical form. I was angry. I was depressed, suicidal from the age of 7, blah, 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 blah. I could go on and on. And there was finally a time where I was like, I'm sick of suffering and I'm sick of healing because I either get addicted to suffering and I go way over here down the rabbit hole, or I get addicted to healing and then but healing still implies something being like I want to be healed. What happens when I'm healed? What happens when I no longer have the cast? You don't break your arm when you're 7, and then when you're 45, be like, hey, so I'm Caryn and I have a broken arm, right? Like, we don't do that. But we do like, hi, I'm Caryn and I'm divorcee and it was really fucking hard and blah blah, whose life is worse and blah 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 blah. And it's just like, no, you aren't. You are and you aren't. It's both and more, always. Like, you aren't. I wouldn't be the person I am who can have such a good relationship with my husband now, my ex-husband now, if I hadn't gone through all the things we went through, right? Like, it's the whole Schrodinger's box, it's the whole chicken and egg, it's the ascension process. And we just cling so hard to, but this happened. Yeah. And you spent tens of thousands of dollars and probably thousands of hours healing from it. When are you going to stop telling the story of that? Or even that you survived that? You're still bringing it up again.
Yeah. And
When
that
are you
is
going to just
something
stop?
that's really, each person has their own unique journey to find that, but it's really like identifying, wow, where am I still playing the victim in my life, and where am I still attaching to these stories that are no longer me? Like, what is it? Our cells literally change, our whole body literally changes every 7 years. And now as the energies are coming in, it's like we're literally changing. And if we're still attaching to those old stories of the broken arm from when you were 7, like that,
Right.
Yes,
Right.
honor it for what it was, what it gifted you. And I think that's like some of that jaguar and the dragon medicine, right? It's like, we're going to help you track down the root of this, but we're also going to like show you solutions to move forward, like to let that part go so you can really open up to what I like to call the creation codes of bliss, like those bliss, ecstatic, freaking amazing codes that we can really activate within our channel, but we have to let go of those older stories that aren't serving us any longer.
Yeah. And doing it, what I like also is to take that and start as big as is like insanely, like I said, I'm an impossible dreamer, right? Don Quixote and I love it. Love it. Cause like there's a line in the song Impossible Dream that, like, if you don't know the Legend of Don Quixote or Man of La Mancha, that's fine. But in Man of La Mancha, which is the musical version of Don Quixote, there's this song called The Impossible Dream or Impossible Dream. And Josh Corbin does a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rendition of it. If anybody wants to go listen to it, it's gorgeous. It might bring you to tears. And in the song, there's this line that says, "Willing to march into hell with a heavenly cause." And every time I hear it, I just just saying it, every cell in my body just like lights up, because there are the people that battle hell, and there are the people that get through their hell, and there are people that are like, I got through, but I will never put myself into any situation that ever even remotely feels that way. Instead of realizing like life is a video game. Like, yeah, okay, you don't go in there after you got your ass whipped. You go back out and you get the right tools and you get the right armor and you make sure you got the potions. And like, that's why I love playing Breath of the Wild with my kids, actually, is because I can chill and I can just be Link and be like, okay, and this is me finding my new house. Now I'm getting my ass whooped by these moblins. Okay, I gotta go do something else, right? Like, I can't just sit here getting my ass whooped over and over again with the few potions I have and the broken ass sword and the other things. Eventually, it's just like, okay, nope. I have the choice to walk away from this, and I can go do this, and I can do this, and oh, now I got potions, and I got bows, and I got arrows, and all these things, and then I come in there and I whoop those goblins' asses, no problem. But I don't just like ignore them either, right? I don't just like not go do that quest and be like, oh, fucking goblin, come on. No. If I told you even a third of what's going on in my like human life right now, you'd be like, how the hell are you even having this conversation with me? And yet that's the dragon way. You are using, like, I say conquering chaos. I'm actually probably going to be changing that to coordinating chaos, right? Like the chaos coordinator. Like, it is just like it's like it feels like a battle zone, but like the general still has to be like, okay, right? The queen has to just be like, hey, the empress, whoever, like, all the it's usually pretty good, but for like 2 years, it can be absolute, like a literal war zone on their land. And they all, every fucking second of every day, people are looking to them. Hey, Are you? Are you? Are you? And it's not about putting on a front, because what does those queens and kings have? They have their closest advisors, right? They have the people that watch the breakdowns. That doesn't mean that the king and queen never have days where they literally wake up in tears. It means that there's only certain people that have the trust and the that get to see that part, that vulnerable, the safety of that. And the kingdom, people in the kingdom, what would happen if people in the kingdom saw their queen losing her fucking shit more than like once a year, right? Like, it's okay, like we want to know that she's a real person, but also they don't want to see it. Like, they want to be blind to it. Followers don't want to see it. It's okay, there are leaders and there are followers. But if you're watching this with me, then you're a leader, so like, you're welcome. With all of us, right? Like, that's just how it is. It's like, I just did a summit the other day, and I think like 50 people dropped off within the first 20 minutes, like within the first 10 minutes of me being on. And then I was like, okay, so now that we've kind of wiggled loose of anyone who wasn't ready for this, let's do this. Because I know that it's intense. I know that it's like, what the hell? And also, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. You either jump on now, or you get to like, okay, next time it comes around, it's probably gonna hit you even harder in the ass. Just letting you know.
Well, and I think that's why I love you, because you say it like as it is, and you're not sharing everything that's happening in your life, but you're like, you guys, it is real, it is hard, but also like we have to have that courageous heart to move through the fires, right? To move through that transition. And I think so many people, at least in my community, are going through these big transitions and big, like divorces and moving and losing jobs and starting new jobs, and just feeling lost, and even feeling those places where sometimes we even detach, right? Because it's like we don't know where we're at, but that's all part of the process too. Like, we have to kind of come into that space. And I think the dragon consciousness is really helping us to see that, to recognize that, to honor that part of the journey too, right? Like you said, we're not just pushing it under the rug, like, but having those safe spaces where we can, express and be vulnerable and share, I think is really, really powerful. And that kind of brings me into the next question is, why do you think the dragon consciousness is on the rise right now? And why, is this call to really embrace that within ourselves? Like like I said, I hear dragon riders, and, I know I have dragon heart. So why do you feel the dragon consciousness is really on the rise?
So I think it's because we forget that the story of the Phoenix is actually kind of a fun story. So this came through right after I got back from a trip to Puerto Rico with my partner, and I was asked to sub for Erin Ryan's Emerge program. And Erin Ryan is amazing. If you don't know her, you should see her. She's awesome, the six-figure Reiki rebel. She's on maternity leave. So she's like, hey, I need a substitute for my class, essentially. And I'm like, sweet. I literally just got back from Puerto Rico 13 hours ago, ladies. Let's see what comes through. Isle of Enchantment is what Puerto Rico is called too. So I'm like, okay, let's see. This will be fun. And what came through is like, do you remember Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and when Fox has his burn day, right? They like show him go up in flames. Well, and then afterwards, it's this ugly little ashen covered chick thing. And it's not even like a fuzzy, cute chick. It's like a vulture, like, ugh, like when chicks are first born, right? Like first, gooey, like just like and then like ash on his face. Like, it is not pretty, right? And yet everyone clung to the Phoenix medicine so hard that it was like, okay, well, if you're listening to the Phoenix, then you're deciding that you're gonna have this big, beautiful moment, and then you're gonna burn, and you're gonna start from literally square one. And yeah, it might be 500 years in between, but we're humans, so we don't have 500 years. So instead of 500 years, you're getting like a year, if you're lucky, of some prosperity before you're on full on burn in some other area of your life. Okay. Dragons, snakes, reptiles, serpents, they shed their skin, right? They come out. Now, some species of snakes turn around and attack the skin that they like. They don't know if it's because they think it's like that they're being attacked by another snake, because it's usually the species that like don't flake off. They literally like pull themselves perfectly out and there's like a complete snake left over. Some of those species will turn around and like attack and eat it. So scientists don't know if it's a nutrition thing, that like maybe there's something inside the snake skin that the snake's benefiting from eating it again, or if it's like a fear response of like they think that they're being attacked because they are so separated from that snake and their brain is so small that they're like, ah, snake. Right? And if you can, but most species don't do either. They literally just like their skin comes off in chunks. They'll have to rub up against like rough, abrasive rocks to get all the pieces off. And then they're just ooey gooey and like a little, like in a third of a diameter bigger. You know what I mean? Like that's why they had to shred. So that level, like taking it that third grade level simple, and then expound all you want on it with all of your metaphysical whatevers, right? But like that simple. That's why medicine comes in. Is literally like, what is the third grader in you trying to learn? That it doesn't have to be a giant like every time with a total rebirth. It can literally be as simple as like, that's why like I got called spiritual sandpaper like 2 weeks ago and I laughed so hard and I was like, yes, that is totally it, because I am the rocks that you rub off on purpose. People hire me because I might be the kindest, most caring person you have ever met, but no one will ever accuse me of being the nice girl. Ever. Ever. That's okay. That's my long way around answer.
Yeah. Well, and I think
Also, it's 7/7. You did not warn them what day we're recording this, so
oh,
just realize, everybody, like this is some channel, just like she asked the question and let's see what comes out sort of stuff.
but that's what I love. I love that we're just being ourselves. I have some basic questions and we're just rolling with it. And that's the fun part, right? Because we just in the moment. I think that's really powerful right now too, is it's not something that necessarily we have studied, or it's not always in the brain. It's really like what is live in us right now. How do we share this medicine and this
Yeah.
message with more people? And I love the serpent, because you can see that's my painting I did. I am a serpent priestess. I connect to the serpents way before I started to connect with the dragon energy. Um and and so I love that, like the shedding of the skin, and moving beyond the old archetype of the phoenix, where it will eventually have to be burned, and going more into that dragon consciousness, which like, hello, we birth worlds. Like we are here to
Yeah.
like literally
Like
birth
we're the
new
birthers
worlds.
of sovereign creations. And it's like I remember I was at an event with a very well-known dragon tribe leader. Just to leave it at that. Lots of people have read their book. And I was staying. First of all, they had no idea what to do with me. They're like, "Are you a heckler? Are you legit? What's going on?" Like my vibe, my questions, my responses to things were just like throwing them off the whole time. And I go eventually like get this call to stand up. So claircognizance is one of the clairs that's just not talked about enough. Like this inner knowingness. It's not even your gut. It's like it's a little bit higher. It's like it's higher and lower. It's everything. Your feet tingle or your hands do a thing. Like you just get this sign that as you keep getting more intimate with it, it becomes more obvious. Like, okay, then you can respond to it more quickly, like the stove situation, right? So this thing, something inside me was like, stand up. And I walked and I was standing, like there were people on either side. I had been sitting in the front row and I walked all the way to the back and I was standing with like the main row, and they were at the front and I was at the back. And they were calling in all these ascended masters and they were calling in all this energy. And all I could think was like, I am so bored. What are you doing? And I hear resound every ascended master that she had called into the room all at once said, this is as far as they're going to get. The dragons terrify them. They brought it in have not been able to harness it, feel safer with us, and that is okay. But stand there for about another 45 seconds and we're going to transfer a bunch of codes into you because you get it. And that's why she's been freaking out and like responding to you the way that, just it's not a fear, but like someone who teaches sovereignty, having a bodyguard at their own event is sending mixed signals. Like, it was just simple things like that where it's like, I don't get it. You're literally preaching to us about safety in your own body and all of and you have a legitimate like mafia looking fucking bodyguard with an earpiece and everything standing 20 feet away from you. I'm confused. And then like, and it wasn't a judgment, it wasn't anything, but like you get shocked like that. And then the pandemic hit. I'm not shitting you. 3 weeks later, I just happened to be able to get to LA right before it all happened and get this. And then I've spent 3 years just like, how do you, okay, let's play without like, oh, well, I took this and yada, just like knowing that was an experience for me and knowing that that gets to be my story and my truth and not even to prove that to anyone, but also realizing that that person is already a very well-known person. So them, all the people that read their book, that get through those chapters, that pull in the dragon medicine and aren't just focused on the ascended masters and get there, they're I'm right there. Like they're and I'm like, what do I do? I'm a suburban housewife in Salt Lake City. Let's go. Okay. I hear you. I'm gonna follow the dragon's call, I guess. That's what we're doing. Because once it's on, and that's what's so beautiful about dragon medicine too, is that it's intense, but you still always have this feeling of like sanctuary, no matter what how hard it is. Every person in your life is like, I don't understand. How are you not freaking out right now? You should be having a fucking meltdown. It's okay for you to be upset. And you're just like, this is where I am right now. This is the relationship I am in right now. This is how we're in relation right now. Because when I'm not with anybody, like right now, my kids don't exist right now. If we want to go there, right? They do. They're all safe. There's a teenager, blah, 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 right? But in this little bubble, until I bring them in by calling them into our reality by making everyone aware of it, y'all kind of forgot for a second that I got 3 kids in that house right there, right? So we have to become that present, but with every little thing. And that is real confusing to the people that are still working with Faye and Phoenix and dabbling in, right? I was born a Catholic and then was pagan by the time I was 8. I had earth-based religion ceremonies for my whole life. The things I teach and I know is just like it's the lineage. Like this is not, I think I've said it before, like I did not get woke in my 20s. It was a reawakening. I had a remembrance. I had a whole lot of fuck, mom was right moments. But my mom even now is all like, your understanding of metaphysics is so far beyond what I understand it to be at this point. And I'm like, right. And because as a little girl, when I told you that I was making up a witch's brew that was going to teach me how to see through walls, you didn't tell me that magic was evil. You asked me if I want you to get any flowers from the front yard because I wasn't supposed to go into the front yard without an adult, right? Like that. And that's what I do with my kids. And they're being taught magic. My son and I went to a retreat, and everyone, first of all, they all thought he was like 20 something. And then when they found out he was 14, they were like, and then by the end of it, they were like, we're all like taking substances and other things to feel the way that this kid is existing on oxygen, like just dancing and being, he's not weird, he's not awkward, he doesn't get bullied, like he does, and then he reminds everyone that he is a lethal weapon and the fact that he's a third-degree black belt in Taekwondo. So like, don't push me because I don't wanna.
And I think so much of that is exactly like I've had these conversations with a couple other of the speakers, and you know how we are, how this energy of the dragon, and we haven't even got into the womb oracle yet, but this energy that's coming in, and it's
Heart,
really
womb
is
chakra, band.
assisting
So
us in all of our life. It's assisting us in our love and our business and our family. And for those of us that are mothers, it's hard. There are days that are hard, but we are choosing to you know instill the values that we really honor into our children, and then let them also be their own people without like micromanaging or hovering over them, or and many of us, well, me and some of us, I mean not everyone, but going through my own traumatic and abusive childhood, like there's a lot of stuff that I have to unlearn, and there's a lot of stuff that I have to stop myself. So when you were talking about presence, that's one of the biggest practices that I am learning, is what is it in this moment, and that nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Where am I now? What is needed in this moment? How can I best, live in a space of either peace or happiness or just awareness and acknowledging whatever I'm feeling? And that's been huge for me as a mom, and to help also my kids. Like, sometimes I'll hear my 5-year-old, he'll be like, I just need to breathe, mom. And I'm like, it's those little tiny things, or you take them to events when they're older, and people are like, wow. And it's like, this is the new way, right? Like setting those
mhm.
boundaries and understanding that we absolutely can be housewives and we can devote our whole lives to our children, but also there's this energy of like, well, we're also individual, we're also us, and we have our own soul mission too. So it's like bridging that aspect. So I'm loving that you're saying that, because that's a couple other people have spoke of that, and that's something that I'm currently dealing with, and I think the
Yeah.
consciousness helps us to be present as well as multidimensional, so we can see all these other aspects at the same time. if
Mhm.
if we're able to slow down enough to tune in, we can start to see those other aspects playing out, and make the best choice in that now moment.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing about, like I mentioned this. Sorry, there's work going on. Can you hear that like annoyingly? Okay, good.
Not at all.
Um, okay, good. Like someone's building like a deck or something. Okay. Um, there's like I spoke at this International Dragon Summit, like I said a few days ago, and one of the things I mentioned was the etymology of the word dragon, meaning a large serpent, and the word serpent just meaning clear light. And lots of words take a while to break down, right? Like the word courage means this and this, which comes from the root word of that, and it like takes a couple of like layers to get to the heart. This is just like straight, like dragon means large clear light, period, like end of discussion. And then when you think about a light, and you're just like, okay, well, that could be a diamond. And then you bring in all of the diamond codes. But like I say, like I'm a walking trigger. I've got a fifth line in my human design. So like that's just who I am. Hi. But knowing that, and I've actually met a lot of people that have dragon medicine, and guess what? We all got fifth line, like every single one of us. And it's because when but you're also a magnifying glass, right? Like you're a diamond, but also this magnifying glass. You have this zoom in, zoom out function, which is something that last year when I was teaching grounded dragon theory was like one of the dragon installations that we did for them, was like getting to a place where they can be very in the moment while simultaneously, it's like the everything everywhere all at once phenomenon, right? Like be here right now while then pulling through all the universes at once to know that whatever weird random, like yeah, they took theirs pretty far, but like still, like what do I need to do right now that's going to get me the result that I need, knowing that I can see it like the spider's eye and the web and all of these things all at once. And that takes like, that's like talk like Doctor Who, right? Doctor Who lives forever. So a second for him is like 4 minute scene on the fucking show, right? And then you find out that this was like the last 2 seconds of his life that he's thinking all these thoughts, he's doing all these things. We can do that. It's not like they've given it to us all. Like, go watch these shows and don't look at them as fiction. It's reality. And then start seeing how can you play that into your own life when you're doing that. When you're not just studying, when you're just not always in ceremony, when you're not like that's when you're really in the dragon's way because you're folding laundry and also like reading all sorts of magic simultaneously because of how you're doing it, right?
I like to term that everyday divinity, where we're bringing that divinity, the spirituality, our spirit, our higher selves, our oversoul, dragon consciousness. We're bringing it into the everyday moment. It's like you said,
Mhm.
ceremony is amazing. I love ceremony. I try to have at least one ceremony at least every week, where it's like hours, and that's my thing. But then also it's like, what about when I'm, yeah, folding laundry, or I'm taking a shower, or I'm being present with my kids, but also there's like this other knowing, this other thing that's happening around, that it's like we're able to tap into all of that. Like I'll just be like all of a sudden playing with the kids or something, and then my light language just starts going, and they now just, Maxon does his own thing now, his own little light language, and Freya, she's like, I don't quite know about that, but it really is merging the spirituality with the everyday life, and I feel like that's what we're all doing. It's that integration, it's that embodiment of those codes, and how are we going to bring it into our now and every moment as much as we can. And I feel that weaving is happening to so many of us, and it's amazing. It's an amazing process. And though, like you said, watching those movies, that's going to give you inspiration too. Like, though I think that producers and creators and writers and screenplay writers, like, they are downloading information, like, our creativity, our imagination is literally accessing all the
Mhm.
consciousness, so we're tapping into that, and so it's there for a reason. And so where do you want to focus your energy, and what gifts do you want to start to activate, and start to be curious about it, and it will open.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't, especially for those who are like, I don't know, I feel like today of all days is a day that I want to speak specifically to manifesting generators for a hot, just for 1 second.
Go ahead.
Because when you understand as a manifesting generator, or even like in general way showers, but a lot of the manifesting generators are like the Martin Luther Kings, right? He didn't know how he was gonna get it done. He was the why person. Why does this need to be done? And I need to paint the picture of why this is important. All of the projectors in his life and all of the generators and all of those people are the ones that got it done and how it got done and what got done, right? But why it mattered and why it had to happen was up to him. Now, I have no idea what his human design is, but that's how I kind of use this for manifesting generators, at least. We are not linear, and then we're also like neurodivergent on top of it. Like, there's so many extra layers of it does not make any logical sense at all. That you cannot ABC 1, 2, 3 your way through dragon consciousness. And the specifically again for the MGs out there, it's starting to get extra weird for us because we were the ones that were extra weird 8 years ago. And that's just something that I'm consistently seeing, just as someone who, like, hi, I'm Caryn Terres, I'm a manifesting generator with a lot of people. And we know these things. It's like when I look at the timeline, like, when did people start having situations? Some of the experiences people had 4 or 5 years ago, like, quite literally like a decade before for some of us. And it's okay. And then just bringing it back for everyone, now dragonize that. Like, it's going to be fiery, it's going to be intense, it's going to be taking you to new heights. And when you're already in a life that you couldn't have imagined 5 years ago, that's why the impossible dream. Oh, here it is. Ha, I wrapped it around. It always happens eventually. I'm gonna be president of the United States one day. That's how insane my visions are, right? And I don't even know if president is gonna exist in 2032. It could be intergalactic emissary. It's just president of the United States, leader of the free world. That position, energy, that bigness is what I know that I can, like, am meant to do. But that, compared to like even what, like, okay, so then let's do some political things. I wish that I could be more active in all those things right now. My own personal life needs, so it's a micro moment, right? And being able to go through those micros and those macros, right? The unit pixel hexagram from Aleister Crowley. Um, this, which I don't follow any of his shit, but that's the one thing that I love about it, is it's one of those sacred geometry shapes that you can just keep drawing and never pick up your finger. And you're creating this X in the middle. It's the micro to the macro, the in to the out, like all of these different pieces, or Metatron's cube if you work with that energy, right? Flower of life, whatever. This interconnected web of life, you have to the fucking genetic blue is me.
You're kind of freezing. Are you there? Did I
I'm
lose?
here. I have full connection.
There we go.
I'm here.
Right as we're getting to the juicy stuff.
Where did you lose me? Right, everything it does. I break the internet a lot. That's the thing. The energy gets real intense, man. Right, that all of the genetic blueprint for an oak tree is contained inside of an acorn, and there are going to be times in the acorn's life that it's sitting next to a giant ass oak tree, being like, "Well, I could be that big. I could be that big." Right, and it's like you still can't fucking do anything, right? Like I can't right now is just like, okay, soak up all the roots, grow down the roots a little bit more. Maybe there's not even going to be like apple trees, I learned, are biannual, which I didn't know. They don't create a harvest. Well, certain species of apples are biannual, so they don't create a harvest every year. So the years in between the harvest, they're actually growing their roots down more. And then they'll grow a little bit taller and out the next year and create apples. And then right? So they're on that. So like they literally like down below one year and then up above the next year.
Oh, I
And
love that.
lots of different fruiting, right? Lots of different fruiting things do that actually. It's not always this every single year thing. Yeah, roses bloom twice in a season. Cool. But for most of the years, roses are like it's not doing anything, right? They're just beautiful green bushes. Same idea of like when you have these moments in your life where everything is chaos incarnate in total havoc, and you're not where you want to be, and everybody around you seems to be succeeding or getting what they want, or you feel like you're being separated by everything, and no one that you used to hang out with jives anymore, but all the people that you're starting to hang out with don't. So you're not sure where you're supposed to in that, and you are sick and tired of being alone, but you also don't want to people anymore. Those places in our life exist. You need the support from people, but you're trying to be a sovereign being. You're like, I can do this on my own. I don't save me. I don't want to be saved. And then all this support comes in, and you're like, shit, okay, so what's the difference between support and being saved? Because I thought, you know, it's weird. These transitories moving from the cultural, societal, imprinted, dualistic, shadowy, blah 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 blah, into ascension, new earth, whatever you want. It it is gonna be days where you're only dealing with human stuff,
Yeah.
and you're not getting to go to ceremony, and you're not gonna have the ability to go take an hour-long bath, and you are going to have to use the trip to the grocery store to do breath of fire to clear your energy so that you don't lose it the next time your kid comes and asks you a question, right? Like that's truly embodying all of the esoteric healing stuff, the Reiki and the this and the that, like every single modality is how do you use it when you're presented with it right then, not to heal the past, but in that moment, are you choosing to ruminate and take this 3 hour drive and just be like, this guy should, and just be like brooding? Or are you going to choose that the actions and the inactions and the words and the lack of words of other people never get to disrupt your inner peace? And you're just looking out the window, enjoying it, and you're able to move on with the conversation. And it's not weird, and you're not sweeping it under the rug because you're just, yeah, I'm so over that fucking pattern of contention. Like, let's just enjoy this drive. Yeah, that was hard for about mile marker 112 through mile marker 120. That got intense, but now we're at mile marker 200. Like, we're almost to the beach. We don't need to fucking worry about what happened an hour and a half ago. And people don't do that. They literally will let what happened at mile marker 111 ruin their beach day.
Yeah.
No,
And again,
that's not the
it feels
vibe.
like it's coming back to that power of presence again, and really, like you said,
Mhm.
making the choice. And it is okay, because there are moments where I'm like, you know what, I am having a fucking pity party, and I'm gonna let myself, like those 10
Mhm.
miles, whatever. I'm like, I need this right now because my inner child's having a fit, and I'm gonna let it happen. But also then acknowledging it, seeing it, and saying, you know what, I'm gonna make a different choice. Like I'm gonna
Right.
process, embrace it, whatever I need to do in that moment. But
Right.
yeah, grab
And I
those
think,
tools and let's go forward.
yeah, I think that's the difference though between like having your like letting your inner child throw a fit and you're still the one driving the car versus those moments that we let the inner child drive the car,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing is like I woke up bawling this morning and I was like this close to canceling actually and was just like, nope, I know why. I'm very aware. It's the anniversary of one of my friend's deaths and some other things, and it's 7/7, like so many things. And also, we signed up to do this at this time for a reason. I'm not going to cancel. Like, I can feel my pattern of avoidance and wanting to run and whatever. No, like, you can move the energy. You get to feel this all right now. It's 9 a.m. Your thing isn't till 2:30, right? Made some pancakes, did the thing. And now, like, you would, if I hadn't have said anything, no one would have known, right? But it just happened to be perfect for the example that we're talking about.
Yeah.
That, like, it gets to be that because you let the inner teenager be there, right? The inner teenager, she's got some kinky desires that maybe you should listen to. You let the
Oh, are you still there? I think we lost you.
okay,
Oh,
there you
there we go. We're back.
are. See, I'm telling you, when I drop these codes that are like Zoom does not like it. Um, right, the little girl gets to be in her booster seat with her lollipop and her pigtails, doing her thing, and every now and then throw a giant fit. That's fine. The elderly grandmother, ancient wise version of you gets to be in the driver's seat next to you, just doing her thing. But you are the one that's always driving, right? That's the most important piece that you can let all those aspects of you have their moments. But every now and then you might have to actually pull over the car, right? Like I'm leaving next week for a week, and 3 of those days I'm turning off my phone and going into the wilderness with my dog. I don't care that like I'm going camping on a friend's property where I will be safe and like not wilderness, but also like far enough away that I'm like, I'm not going to see you. These are several acres of land. I plan to hike for like at least an hour and a half before I set up camp, sort of thing. Um, but that's okay too. Like I gotta pull over. We gotta take a leg rest, a stretch. But I feel like too often we're like, should I let my inner child take over? I let my inner teenager take over. They wreaked total. They totaled the fucking car. We're in a ditch right now. Everybody's just like the juice box is in the back. She's still having a freak out. The teenager flipped the car, so the fucking 3-year-old's being a bitch to her. Like, you know what I mean? Just absolute chaos on top of it all versus had we just honored in the moment, you know what? Actually, I'm not going to make dinner tonight. Everyone get in the car. We're driving through Subway and we're going to the park. Because too often we just make ourselves do the thing. Oh, I'm fighting back tears. How about dinner's just like an hour late because you had to go into the garden and just cry and get your fingers in the dirt? And hopefully you have people around you that understand that and support it. And even if you're like, oh, but my kids and their schedule, no, they actually understand a lot better and they are going to appreciate watching you respond to your needs and taking care of yourself over than like, oh, well, I always saw mom push through. So that means other people's needs are more important than my own. We don't understand how much we're showing them with our actions, and especially moms, how like and this is coming from a mom who left, okay? I walked away from my family 2 years ago. I had to take 2 years away, a lot. Like I've been less than 30% custody because I was the problem. I was the toxic one. I was the one creating toxic, like circling the patterns. I was the one now not only hearing my own dad come out of my mouth, but now my dad come out of my teen or me come out of my teenager. Like, no, 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 we're not doing this. And the only thing that I could find after trying to stay and trying to whatever was to walk away. So not the normal, like I'm just getting to 50-50. Like I was treated like the deadbeat dad during the divorce process. That's the role that I played in this, was to know what it's like to be the one who's the bad guy during a divorce while my husband stayed at the house and took care of the kids because he was the stable one. And that was a part of it. It was like I knew that. He's more stable. He has his shit together. I'm fucking out of my mind. I talk to dragons all day long. I need to get my shit together without going and into, I don't need a psych ward. But if I try to talk to anyone else about this, they are all going to tell me that I have to go to a psych ward. So how do I do this? And I think the only people in this community that would be on a womb oracle summit can understand that level of like, I am losing my fucking mind. And what I want to do makes no sense and goes against everything that even the spiritual teachers are telling me. And yet that thing in my heart is saying, you have to leave. It's going to be better for everyone in the long run. And it is. My husband was the villain. He's now my best friend again, right? Like now he's my ex-husband, but he gets to be my best friend again. Which one's more important, a shitty marriage or having your best friend? Right? These different choices that we're making get to be so fucking hard and then so beautiful. Why do we harvest? Why do we work our asses off? Why do we do not but to have? But so many of us don't ever want to have it. We're like, oh no, he's just got to be an asshole forever. He was an asshole then. He was an asshole during the divorce. He's going to be an asshole until the end of time. And then they're stuck suffering for the rest of their lives in that relationship because that's the story they've told. I've had this diagnosis and this is what the doctor said and this, and blah, 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 blah. I've heard it all. I've said it all. Well, I probably said it 100 times more than you have, to be honest, when it comes to excuses. They are my favorite thing in the whole world. And yet, they're all the same thing. Eventually, you just figure out that I'm just making up an excuse. The story is just an excuse. It's an excuse to do or to not to do. It's neither good nor bad. It's like a consequence. But you're still, that's why I emphasize it to you. You and you alone. Because I don't care how many fucking spirit guides you have, they aren't the ones packing your bags. They aren't the ones turning on the car keys. They're not the ones looking for the fucking house and signing the lease. They're helping you. They're guiding you. Yes. But they are not in physical form right now doing this shit. So step up a little bit more. They're not the ones showing up to city council meetings, which is what I used to do. Right? I can tell you all the things I did before, but that's not where I am right now. I can still say all those things I did before. I wanted to be president. I still want to be president now. Isn't that the only thing that actually matters? Is that like the end goal is still the end desire and all the people served and all the lives changed and all the other things? You can get involved in your community. You should. You should be involved in politics. It's important. There's causes on your heart. Every person needs a house to live. Everyone should have clean water. Everyone should have healthy food. Everyone should have open source education. Everyone should have access to the type of healthcare that they want. Those are basic fucking human rights. And every single one of us has a way to help in some way with one of those 5 things. And if all I ever do is say that for the next 100 years, and that just inspires the next, all the people to do the hows and the whats, then great. I did my job. And my life got to be one crazy fucking episode after episode on alien TV.
Well, I love that you're sharing that, because it is a real thing. And for someone who also chose to walk away, like, yes, I still have my kids 50-50, but
Yeah,
like,
see, I'm
I chose
50-50
to
very
leave a
shortly.
relationship that wasn't
Once I
like,
have a house.
it wasn't horrible, it wasn't a horrible relationship, but inside I'm like, there is something else. I had to leave to heal and to see where I've been the bad guy, the villain, where I've also been the victim, where I let things happen to me, where I was, letting gaslighting happen and I didn't even know what it was, like all of it in the last 2 years it's been a shit show for me as well. It's been really hard, but that inner drive to show up for what it is that I really want, and sometimes not even knowing exactly what that looks like, but just trusting that my heart is leading me, is the biggest thing. And I have the keys, right? I have the keys. Yes, I have guides. Yes, I work with amazing, energies, but ultimately the choice is up to us. What choice are we going to make in that moment? Is it going to be for the best or not? So I'm glad that you're bringing that up, because it's tough sometimes, especially as things are crumbling. It's like, oh shit. But what is that
Yeah,
end vision? What is that goal? What is it that you really value? What do you want to live? How do you want to live? All of that, it does matter. And just
yeah,
just continuously go back to the heart and be like, what is it that I need? How can I make this happen? What do I need
yeah.
today? Maybe it's a
And
nap.
also, why did when we ask like, well, why did this happen? I like to like you talk about the dragon heart. I use the heart womb, like this idea that the sacral, the solar plexus, and the heart can be like turn into a super chakra. Like all three of their energies just start pumping like a billow, like in a forge sort of thing. One is just constantly fueling, the other is blowing the next, and it then all comes out through your throat because you can't not breathe fire eventually. It just bubbles up, so you're just like, what's happening? um that energy comes through, and then we have moments where we're like, okay, what I I did all these things and then you took away this, right? Or you added this. And how quickly we can find the lesson, I think is what I've been most excited about, is because I'm going through things right now that I can tell you 4 years ago when dragons first dropped in, it would have taken like a year, if not longer, to be like, oh, okay. Because if they hadn't done this, then all of that shit wouldn't have happened. And then, okay, I see why. I I've had a couple of experience just again since coming back from Puerto Rico that within 4 or 5 days, I was like, huh. But if that person hadn't have done what they did, then would not have happened, and I would not be where I'm at right now. And then right? And allowing that to move so quickly is what's so nice about the dragon's path, is eventually you're not so much paying attention to the different stimuli, you're just paying attention to the earth. You're just like, okay, these people, this feeling, this people, this feeling. Like, you don't, this person moved out, this person's moving in, this is what's happening this iteration, okay. And then allowing each person when they come in and out of your life, or each situation, that new lesson to be actually new, right? This is that, ooh, this is really interesting, right? How can our, my ex-husband and I be friends again? Because we both shed our skin for 2 years and we're both new people right now. And we both get to honor the new people we are right now. Yes, we still do have all of the past. That past doesn't just go away. That part isn't really like a snake skin. Like, it's not going to just like disappear, right? But the feeling that we're having, like, we're gonna want to do things that are maintaining this level of peace. And because I don't live here, I don't have to deal with some of the things when, if that dissonance starts to happen. And so we can maintain that relationship, which is important, co-parenting and friendship, which should be very important in a marriage, but a lot of shit gets thrown in the middle. We have it with clients, we have it with mentors, we have it with friends, right? We feel bad that we're cutting off our friends because they're still doing XYZ and our vibes are off and whatever. And we can literally just invite them like, okay, I'm going to be here. And if you do whatever you're going to do and you end up back in my table and I can see that like you have done your I'm not going to assume you to be the person you were when I walked away, ever. You and I can have a conversation next week, Athena, and I would not think that you're the same person as you are right now because I know how much I change within a 7-day period. I give that grace to every other person. And that is the reciprocity. Like, I love the serpent, again, the dragon energy of like, I don't have a single belief about myself that I don't hold equal for every other being or how I treat them. If no one and no thing has power over me, then I have no power over anyone or anything else. That it has to be reciprocal. That's just part of the earth game. Are we changing the earth game? Sure. But right now, if I have a belief that I chose everything in my life, then that is true of even my kids. My kids chose to have a mom that was going to leave for 2 years. Like, right? All of these things. Because if I don't believe it for them and I only believe it for me or vice versa, then it's not actually a belief. It's just like it's wishy-washy. It's not, no, you gotta, this is how, as above, so below. These are just core fundamentals of the universe that we're currently experiencing. Can things change? Sure. But I haven't mastered those things yet.
It's definitely a process. So the next question we've been kind of talking dragon, of course, and I love that you brought up the heart womb because I see it as that too. I see it as a huge chakra. It's like do we even need chakras anymore? Sometimes I feel like so when you hear the term womb oracle, what does that stir within you?
I just immediately go to any oracle. Oracle of Delphi, Mother Mary. Again, I was raised so interestingly with so many myths, so much access to spiritual practices or stories or any culture I wanted. If I wanted to learn it, it was welcome for me to learn it. Literally anything, history, spirituality, tech, it didn't really matter. And there were oracles in Star Trek and there were oracles in Xena Warrior Princess. And I was watching both of them with my parents when I was 4 and had no concept of time. So womb oracle for me is just like it is like that's just how it stirs up like, oh yay, we're finally gonna talk about this. Like it's that easy that like we are oracles, we all have wombs, all men have wombs. Like let's make this stop being so. I'm all about taking the magic out of the mountains and bringing it back into the cities. Like that is a huge thing for me. I'm tired of the witches' hollows and these sacred spaces being way out here in the fucking wilderness and people have to die 1,000 deaths to gain access to it. And everyone out here is like, I hate all the people and all the villagers. They infected me. They tried to burn me at the stake. No, like let's bring all that back. We went out like this, and now we got to bring it back in and not have a judgment. We have to be the mothers, like the founding mothers of New Earth, which was my chapter actually in Magdalene Codes, was all about being the founding mother of New Earth and looking at things from a revolutionary standpoint, like the Revolution of America, right? Like Alexander Hamilton. The entire chapter actually is an ode to Alexander. I'm quoting Hamilton lyrics the whole time, like the whole time. So yeah, womb oracle for me is just like how it's that simple, like chakral, sacral, sacral destiny. Like it just is. You were born through a womb. You are an oracle of God. It's just yeah,
Yeah.
so simple.
Yeah. And and I do think a lot of people think it is so out there, or it is like the only the elite, and like the oracles of Delphi and other oracles of the times, there were specific people, but that was when our times were different, when there was like that separation, right? And so now it is really about the embodiment of of our access to the divine as the divine, and how the divine breathes through us. And so yeah, that I love that that's how you're feeling that and seeing that, and that's really what I feel too. So I resonate a lot with that. So my next question for you is, why do you feel this power is coming up so strongly these days, like this remembrance?
This comes back to choice for me. Like it's so like I feel like a broken record. Like because we chose it, because it's supposed to, because this is the cycle of life, and we're in this iteration right now. So anyone, whether you are a person who's been here for your whole life, like me, like I was raised on New Earth belief structures, and it's taken me a long time in the spiritual world to realize that I didn't need to learn things, and I was paying people a lot of money to teach me things that I was quite literally taught in elementary school, but they had packaged it up differently. And to come back to that, and then there's people that are gonna maybe one day learn what a chakra is in like 40 years from now. And there's everybody in between. And it doesn't matter. Once you are here, once you are in this frequency, once you experience heaven on earth, your only job is to find out how you're going to add. How are you going to go pick up in the sewing area? I like think of it as like pioneers into the wilderness, building homesteads and towns for the first time, or when they came across like one of the most beautiful parts of Puerto Rico was going to Old San Juan and seeing this old fort that they had built in the 15 fucking hundreds. And then it showed how it went from this little thing to this. And then when they finally closed off like the final fourth wall 300 years later, right? Like that was astounding to me. And every new ship that came in from any place, guess what? They found their area. There's little Italy, there's little China, there's little all these things when you go to New York. All of the immigrants that came, they found their little places, and Manhattan's one way, and then you have the Bronx and all these different things. No one got off the boat and found their own people and were told by their own people, yeah, you can leave. You're an asshole. You weren't here. You didn't help me build this. No one got little red hen by their own people. So why do we little red hen our own people when it comes to the people that are still asleep, the NPCs, the patriarchy? No, we're all humans. We're all ascending in consciousness. We're just doing it. We're all coming up on the boat at different times. Stop having a holier than thou fucking energy about it and figure out where you fit. Like, where do you belong in all of this? Are you a greeter? Are you here on the front lines? Are you way back here helping them when they're trying to build their own houses? Are you here just feeding them and putting a blanket on them? Because a lot of my clients come from those types of healers first. They were with people that were like, here's a blanket, here's a cup of soup, then tell me your stories. I want to hear let me braid your hair for you while you tell me all about the old country. Right? I'm going to teach you English. This is how we talk here. And then there's the people that are like, okay, yo, you speak English? Okay, yeah, you've been here for a minute. Let's go. We're gonna build your house over here. Come on, let's go build your house. And you don't give a shit about where they were, what they need a house, and you're gonna help them build their house, and that's what you're gonna do because someone else was already caring for it. It does. Every society needs all. We need a blacksmith. We need a cook. We need a flower shop. We need a bakery. We need. Come to the heaven on earth consciousness and know that people are just gonna keep coming in. It's not gonna fucking stop. There's gonna be crazy shit blowing up in the old world for a real long time, probably. And our job is not even to pay attention to it. And this is someone who's politically active. And people are asking me who I'm like voting for president this year, and I'm like, I'm not actually interested. In the last few years, I've voted literally by using a pendulum on the day. I get a ballot, and I just use a pendulum by looking at the names and then vote. Which is a really weird way to vote, but how I vote, or at least
Hey,
how I have been voting.
The pendulum's your subconscious working through you. You know, it's that space. It's like muscle testing, you know? It's what your body wants in
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah, but like these are names I've never read before, right? Like that's I stay that detached that I'm just all like, okay, let's just muscle test who's most in alignment with me and my values. I know nothing about what's going on. The only things I will read are the laws, like the ballot initiatives and stuff like that. I will still geek out and try to figure out where the money's coming from and how who's getting screwed over by doing this and things like that. But actual like elections, especially because I live in Utah, so it's kind of hard with some of the things you will like you already know that the district's taken, so you're just like, well,
So I love how you were speaking of, you know, it's like each person has their own unique way of being of service, really, right? Like,
mhm,
and how are we going to
yeah,
help these other people, you know, and maybe it's not even people we're helping. Maybe it's the planet, maybe it's the plants, maybe it's the trees,
mhm,
maybe it's the animals, you know, maybe it is law, maybe, you know, like, so we all have our own unique way. And yeah, I really feel strongly about, you know, that stewardship of a healthier civilization, of a healthier planet, the, you know, the five basic needs. I think that's so amazing. And it's funny because recently I'm like, I need to find someplace. I've been really drawn to like wanting to work at a soup, like volunteer at a soup kitchen. I live in a small town, there's not one
I'll
here,
do
so I have
that.
to go to a big city. But like I've just, because I know what it feels like not to have food. I know what it feels like not to be able to afford to buy groceries. Like I literally know that. I come from poverty. Like
Mhm,
I don't live a super fancy life, and I like simplicity, but I also understand the hardships that, you know, can kind of bring up. And so like that need that just all of a sudden, like, oh, I need to start like figuring out how can I volunteer, how can I give back, because when I was
mhm,
really in need, like people help me. And so I'm
mhm.
finding that like I need to find these streams. And so I feel like, you know, this whole process of talking to so many amazing women, and you know, it's activating more of that within me. You know, I do try to help out as much as I can, but also it's like, okay, I want to go into communities that I don't know. I want to go to places that I don't, you know
Oh
anyone's name
yeah,
really, and start being of service in whatever way I can. So that's definitely something I resonate with for sure. So we're
yeah.
we're
Soup
almost to
kitchens
time
are
here.
really easy.
Yeah, right.
Very
I
easy, fun place. Like they throw me in the pit most of the time now at the soup kitchen that I volunteer at. It's like it actually means they trust you if you're on dishes, but like you're literally washing dishes for like an hour, 2 hours straight. And like, but it's like one of our favorite date nights is my partner and I will go to the soup kitchen and we'll volunteer from like 4:30 to 6:30. And we're out of there by like 7 o'clock at the latest, and then we go do something. We'll go to the comedy club or we'll go have dinner or we'll go to the park, something. But like that's like, and I love it. And then I even do it when he's like, if he's not down, I'm like, I'm still going. Like, I don't care. I'm gonna go. But there was a while that I felt uncomfortable. I was like, this is a really sketch part of town that the soup kitchen's at. I don't know if I can do this. So it was nice having someone big 6'3" linebacker coming with me. But now like I pull in and I know everybody and I'm not worried about it and I know exactly what to do. And it's actually on the days that I'm feeling the shittiest about myself that I will probably show up at the soup kitchen because it will help me be like, but I'm still privileged enough that I have a car and I drove here and I have somewhere I'm going to sleep tonight. And I didn't have to think about how I was paying for my food. And right, it just again presence immediately you're sitting there and you're getting the smiles from the people as you're sitting there washing dishes or handing out their food and they're just so nice and so polite because they're grateful and you're just helping, you're just in service. And when we can be in true service, then we are being that large clear light, right? We are just like shining and giving other people permission to shine also, and they don't need to know all of the things that are going on, right? That's for the very close circle. That's for the people that have earned that trust. You can keep your own secrets, right?
I love it. So, what are you currently working on? I know you kind of said you're in transition, but I know you always got some juicy stuff happening. So, what are you currently working on, and how can people find you?
Okay, so the dragondoula.com or even dragondoula.com, they both go to the same place. And Dragon Doula on Instagram. That's all me. Right now I'm just created a really awesome free meditation. So it's just a complimentary meditation to connect to your the dragon guides in your spiritual entourage, especially for those who maybe like know that they're there, but you're like, how do I talk to a dragon? Like that's really intimidating for me. I'm creating a 21-day introduction to breath work, actually, Dragon Spark, which is the 3 breaths that I use constantly um, throughout the day, throughout the week. So it's a 21-day journey teaching you a new breath a week on how to just like really stoke that fire and then also how to cool it down, right? When it's got all the things. And then on 8/8, actually, we're launching Dragon Forge, where I'm going to be teaching the 3 A's. I don't know why they're A's, but like for those who want to be like impeccable students, like who like to geek out a little bit, like we're gonna give you A pluses. This is for I want to know how dragon magic works. How do I do this in a practical way? And like, yes, there will be tests, there will be quizzes, there will be like, this is for those super like nerd, they just want all of the bits and they want the check marks and it feels good for them because that was me. And like I love having that much structure in a group program. But right now, because those things are so coming down the pipeline right now, the free, and then also I have 2 or 3 openings for private one-on-one mentorship right now, which is super high touch, super high impact. So just like send me an email or shoot me a DM and we can chat about how that works. But those are for the people like the button. I've been talking this whole time and you're like, there is a button I need to push. I need to quit my job. I need to get a divorce. I need to move across town. I need to start that nonprofit. I need to whatever it is that when I'm just saying that you're like shit, there's a thing. Those y'all you call yeah, you can find me.
Yeah, so make sure that you guys definitely check out the email that you received because her links will be there, but also her links will be down in the description of this video. So make sure to click and check out all of her awesome stuff. Your website is amazing, by the way. I went to it the other day and I was like, oh my God, yes, I love it. I love it. I love it. So make sure to check out
we're having lots of fun.
Yeah.
Lots of fun doing that.
And I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your time and really sharing your heart and your stories and everything with us today and really being part of this, this new way of leadership, this synchronistic co-creation and empowerment of one another and through our own experiences. So I just want to say thank you so much for being part of this.
Thanks so much for having me, Athena. I appreciate it so much. Have a beautiful day, everyone.
Yes.